What is the connection between retrospective and Cocoa Head in Hawaii? I'll answer that in a few minutes. But first, let me bring up another interesting topic, that being the retrospective. We both know that retrospectives is very important event for the Scrum teams. There are many dimensions and aspects to retrospective, such as what is retrospective? Why do it? The pitfalls if you don't do it. How do we do it? How do we make it fun? How do we get everyone engaged? What are the best practices? And many, many more aspects to retrospective. In this series, we will look into these different aspects, different dimensions of retrospective one by one. To start with, how about going to Cocoa Head in Hawaii? We have our friend Brad Foster, an agile enthusiast and coach from Hawaii, waiting for us at the top of Cocoa Head. Today, we will be talking about retrospective in general, the benefits and the pitfalls. So, let's join that conversation.
Good afternoon, Namesh. Yeah, so aloha, happy Aloha Friday here on top of Cocoa Head. Cocoa Head is a World War II pillbox scenario where they had rails coming up to service the. I don't know if they probably had guns up here too, but I don't know the whole history. But it's on a lot of people's bucket list for to do when they come to Hawaii. I try to put it in my workouts once a month, and hopefully that's what we're going to do with these little exchanges. So today we're going to talk about retrospectives, who benefits, why we do retrospectives, and what are the what's the downside of not doing retrospectives? How's that sound?
Great. So
So
with that, let's dive in. Let's start with the basics, right? As to what
yeah.
is retrospective.
Yeah, so Nimesh, the retrospective has evolved over time. We do it at a program level. When I was at Boeing, we used to do program level retrospectives, but we called them postmortems, which was looking at the entire project, and that was in the '90s. There's still forms of postmortems, as they're called. Um, but we've been in the agile sense, we've actually taken those that forum and integrated it at the team level and integrate that as part of our continuous improvement for software development. So the retrospective is done after each sprint, after each iteration, and then we're looking at the process to see what we did well and what we can do better. And most of all, how did the team engage? How did the team feel? So we can continue to use that feedback loop. Of the team and the continuous insights from the team.
The traditional definition of retrospective for an agile team, for a scrum team to be specific, would be that this is some event that they are doing at the end of every sprint. Right? So typically we expect the scrum team to end the sprint with the sprint retrospective. The Scrum Guide does not mention as to when you should do it, but as an enterprise coach, as a team coach, when I work with the teams, I recommend that this should be the last event for that sprint. They should, in fact, do it right after the sprint review. That is my suggestion. As you said, this is where they are going to talk about what worked and what did not work. And we want them to hear from the stakeholders through that review and then bring that to the retrospective as well. So again, this should be the last event in the sprint for that Scrum team. The other way to look at it is this is one of the feedback loops built into the Scrum framework. There are many feedback loops. Retrospective is one of the feedback loop. Uh, Going back to again, I want to refer to the Deming's wheel, or what is often referred to as PDCA cycle also. So this is one of the step in that PDCA cycle, the plan, do, check, act, right? So this is basically one of the one of the step in that loop where the team is stopping after finishing the sprint, right? They are checking as
Correct.
what worked, what did not work, identifying what needs to be done to improve certain areas. What areas to improve on, that is decided by the team, right? What action items to do, that is decided by the team. So this is that PDCA cycle in action, if you want to call it. The other piece I want to bring up is in agile mindset. When we talk about the mindset, we want the mindset of continuous learning. We want the mindset of continuous learning and continuous improvement. So again, retrospective is an implementation of that. As the teams do the sprints, they are learning and putting those learnings back into the loop to identify the areas of improvement and actually work on those improvements.
Exactly, Nimesh. So CI, continuous improvement, continuous integration, continuous improvement, and we know that they're, from our own experience, that they're not as easy as they seem to just ask people's opinion. That there's a whole lot of factors to get the team to contribute, because the team's made up of many people, and Agile Scrum is new to a lot of people. They're not used to having a voice. They're not used to being empowered as individuals, and that's what I like about what we're doing at our Reach Solutions. Is we're building teams, and we're building, through leadership, we're encouraging individuals to be passionate about what they're doing and encourage input. Shy people, there's going to be a shy person on every team, and we want to be able to encourage those people to engage and know that the biggest thing that we want to say about once we start engaging with the team is it's a safe environment. There's no judgment. It's not finger pointing. It's truly looking at the process, and then the team ultimately deciding on, okay, these are the things that went well, these are the things that we want to improve upon, and then as a team we define what priorities we're going to work on those items for the next iteration and improve and continuously improve.
Great. Yeah, awesome points, and to do this, obviously we want the entire team to be there. You cannot do a sprint retrospective with just few people from the team. So definitely bring entire team in this event.
We typically don't want managers in those meetings, because the managers indirectly, part of the team. So we just want the team, the product owner and the team and the scrum master and a facilitator. And then we can get into facilitation, which is very critical too. Again, taking in those factors of everybody contributing. I've had people want to mail in their comments, and you and I both know, Nimesh, that doesn't work. We want that face-to-face engagement, so we're building trust in the team as we move forward.
So Brad, that was great baseline understanding for our viewers as to what retrospective is. Let's talk about the benefits. Again, we are asking the teams to do the retrospective every sprint. So they are obviously going to ask us to, hey, why should we bother doing this every 2 weeks if our sprint is 2 weeks? So let's give them some insights as to what are the benefits of doing retrospective.
Whether we're making big leaps in process improvement or continuous improvement, we're building that team. And with new teams, it's really critical to have as much face-to-face time as possible. There's always going to be drama within that team. We're humans, so there's going to be drama. Somebody didn't do this, somebody did do this. We're looking at heroes, but those are the things that we want to come out during a retrospective. We want people to say, I start off with saying, this is what I did well. This is what I'm particularly proud of. And then we say, okay, what did we do well? Yeah, we did integration really well, but maybe the requirements, the user stories weren't well defined. So we kind of make note of that. But we want to make sure that everybody's got a voice. And again, it's about building that cohesive team. So that's one of the biggest benefits right there is the ongoing team engagement. And when we're talking about team, we're not just talking about IT, we're talking about the business as well. So, we're getting, the business is going to be new to our process. So the business is actually speaking as well as the product owner possibly, so we've got that whole paradigm shift of, oh, actually, we're not just considering IT. We've got product owner. We've actually got the business. What's this business stuff all about? We know what they want, and that's what we're finding out. No, IT doesn't know what business wants. The business knows what the business wants, and they're trying to give small windows of what their vision is to that team, and then we collectively start building that relationship, building on those comments that we make during a retrospective.
So again, as I was saying earlier, retrospective is a forum where they are going to look back to the sprint that they completed. So this is, in a way, you can say this is introspection, looking into yourself as a team, as a group, right? As to what worked, what did not work. So oftentimes this meeting or this forum or this event, whatever you want to call it, often becomes their forum for letting this team out. As in, they may be frustrated. They sometimes it becomes a bitching session, right? And if I'm a scrum master, to some extent, I will let that happen, because this is, again, you are letting them get that steam out, the frustration and all that. With that said, the retrospective should not become just a bitching session also. Right? So there's that fine line that you are walking as a scrum master as you facilitate this retrospective.
And we know, Nimesh, that's a critical skill that we at RE Solutions bring to the table about the just amount of the proper amount of facilitation.
Yeah, exactly. This is where the facilitation skills come into play. The other benefit, I say, kind of a side benefit, if you want to call it, is that this event also helps the team in gelling together as one unit. Because again, you are going to do this again and again. And as we said, this is a safe environment. So people will slowly start opening up and they will start supporting. So it eventually helps us in creating that trusting environment. The psychological safety that we are talking about, gelling together as one unit. This is where actually the Scrum teams can practice some of the Scrum values also. Values such as openness, for example, being open, being respectful to other team members.
Well, commitment, accountability, all of those things, Nimesh. And
right.
as we're talking, I mean, it's easy for somebody to take a Scrum Master course and say, okay, yeah, we do these retrospectives, and think, okay, that's what it is. But we need to keep the bigger Agile vision in mind when we're talking about Agile and what it brings to the table, which is empowering teams and exploration. So with each sprint, ideally, we're also experimenting. So not any one retrospective is the same, because the experimentation for that iteration is different. So we're providing, again, it's like waiting to exhale. The team's kind of very rigid. And then as we become more and more comfortable with each other, we're taking deep breaths, we can speak freely with the team, we're doing experimentation, we're seeing the business value that we're pushing out the other end, we're seeing the value in our experimentation and the collaboration and the trust that we're building as a team, as a high-performing team.
So this is where the Scrum team is practicing some of those Scrum values, right? The other benefit is, again, going back to what you were saying, Brad, think of this as experiments. So from these experiments, these sprints, the teams are learning and putting that learning back into the process, into the framework, right? So this is where we are looking for those small incremental improvements, right? We are not looking for big bang improvements. We are looking for the small incremental improvements. The other benefit, I would say, again, going back to what I was saying earlier, as far as gelling together as a group, This also, another side benefit I look at is the sprint retrospective also helps in the team taking the collective ownership and accountability of the product that they are building.
Absolutely, Nimesh. I mean, again, it's that you and I know what it feels like, I mean, we've gone full circle. So we know what those teams feel like when they're first starting out. We know that there's a paradigm shift taking place here with this product driven development, where we're thinking of product and we're not thinking of project, that we're working collaboratively and ideally co-located, but we do this remote too. That's one of the challenges that we face when we do retrospectives with remote teams. But any good facilitator, like we bring from Outreach Solutions, is going to know how to engage those remote workers and get their opinions and their insights included into those retrospectives that we're conducting. So yeah, it's you and I. We feel the energy. We know we know the pain points, and then we know what it's like to see a high performing team using those retrospectives, using the retrospectives to look at, again, how were the user stories well defined? Was the product owner engaged enough? Did we answer enough questions? Did they ask enough questions? Did we have a clear understanding? How was the continuous integration? Did the DevOps piece of it, are they involved? So when we talk about that collective team, we're not talking about 20 people. We're talking about that scrum.
So Brad, all this is great. My team says, hey, coach, all this is great. You're talking about all these benefits and all that. But you know what? You're asking us to do it every 2 weeks. It's a waste of time. Why do we have to do it every 2 weeks? Why do we have to do it to begin? So can you, coach, can you tell us what would happen if we don't do it? Let's say we don't do the retrospective. What are the pitfalls of not doing it? So, coach, can you give us some insights into that?
We talked previously about the team just kind of being, kind of burnout or even not understanding the value of retrospectives. There's really a lot of opportunity lost by not doing retrospectives. It doesn't matter if your retrospective is 5 minutes or 1 hour. It should be conducted just to, put that line in the sand to say, okay, what did we do? I mean, if one thing comes out of a retrospective, you've accomplished one step forward in improving the team's ability to move forward and to work as a high performing team. We've been there with why do we do this every week or every 2 weeks? And there is value, especially again, like I was saying earlier, if we're truly taking the Agile Scrum approach to the max, where we take on an experiment with each iteration, then we're learning constantly. So each retrospective, each snapshot of that work that was done is worth evaluating to see how we can continue to finely tune the processes that we've employed. Again, getting product owner engagement, business engagement, testing, quality assurance, delivery. Everything's going well, or can we tweak a few things? Because we want to, continuous improvement is just that. It's continuous improvement. It's not making up opportunities or creating process for the sake of process. It's identifying weak points or areas that we as a team agree need to be improved. And that's not to say that the team adjacent to us is working to the same. Their experience with their Scrum is totally different than what we've just done. But we do want to collect all of those inputs, put them in a learning database, if you will, to make sure that we're learning. And then at Scrum of Scrums, for example, then we're feeding that back into the entire organization. So the entire organization is learning from the process. And I say one thing is, that we're learning as we build a Scrum team from scratch and get into retrospectives is that newness of working with the product owner, working with the business continually to get their insights. So there's always going to be room for improvement on how that engagement is going with the team, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, so there will be lack of engagement from the team. The other thing I would say is there will be a lot of vagueness as to are we making progress? Are we not making progress? Where are we? So there's a lot of that lack of progress, as in, not clear about what is happening because again, team is not taking that time to do the retrospective. That leads to
Right.
other problem that, hey, if you don't do the retrospective, you are not identifying those areas of improvement, and those are missed opportunities, right? You may end up doing the same thing again and again and again, even if it is not working, because you are not taking time to talk about it, that, hey, this is not working, and how do we fix it, or how do we improve it? So I would say those are missed opportunities for the team, for the organization.
One thing that just spawned a thought was, anti-patterns. So some people agree, disagree. Anti-patterns, there's no such thing. An anti-pattern is just a pattern, but it's a bad pattern. But we like to call them anti-patterns. So what you were saying earlier about opportunity lost, we want to make sure that that it's not, hey, Brad, I know this is the wrong way to do it, but this is the way we've always done it, and so we're going to continue to do it. We're going to say, this is the way we've always done it. It's not working, so let's change it. So if we're saying this is the way we've always done it, it's not working, but we continue to do it, that's an anti-pattern. So we want to identify those anti-patterns along the way. So we're flipping those 180 and making them value added.
Yeah, definitely. So again, as we were talking, sometimes retrospective is the only place where they get that opportunity to let the steam out, right? So if you're not doing that, what happens? The pressure is building and building and building, because remember, there is no break between sprints. You finish one sprint and you start another sprint right away, right? So there is no room for them to let that steam out. That will continue to build that pressure, and eventually, people will snap. Right? This definitely will lead to the decrease in morale, or their morale will go down. you know they will in fact be looking for opportunities to be absent from a lot of your events and ceremonies, because again, they are already disengaged mentally, if not physically.
And the mesh, absolutely. And the key is the engagement. I mean, we're only human, and we know what those pressure points are, and that's why retrospective facilitation is very critical. You could easily just kind of give into the team. It's like, oh, these don't seem to add value, let's stop doing them, or let's do them every quarter. That's where an engaged, knowledgeable facilitator is going to work with the team to commiserate with the team, but encourage them to see the value in it and see the opportunities that the team's been given. A true agile team is empowered. It's self-organizing, it's an empowered team, and that doesn't come easy. That comes from leadership saying, we're subscribing to this agile scrum model, or we'll just say agile model, and we happen to throw retrospectives in there, whether you're doing Kanban, Scrum, XP. But nonetheless, you're doing these retrospectives. So we want to continue to gain trust and earn that trust that leadership has given those teams to do the right thing.
The other thing, last thing I want to mention is, I look at this again, the retrospective as the incubator, also incubator of new ideas. And what I mean by that is, again, we want the team to identify what is not working, right? Or what needs improvement. But then we are not stopping there. Okay, we identified, hey, this area needs improvement. What's the big deal? It's not going to gain anything. But what we are doing is we are pushing the team. Hey, now that you identified this area, this particular area is where we need improvement. Now go and find how to make that improvement, right? So we are asking them to be creative and innovative, to come up with some solution. It may not be, and it doesn't have to be perfect solution. It's something that improves that situation by 10, 15%. Again, small incremental improvements. So I think that is lost. The innovation is lost if the team does not do the retrospective. So I look at it as I said, I look at it as the incubator of all those new ideas, and I don't want to lose that. So that is another reason why I want the teams to be doing retrospective every sprint, at the end of every sprint.
Absolutely, Nimesh, and that's, when we're creating this, we're also agreeing on how we're going to measure those improvements. So we're going to put a metric up aside that identified improvement, that prioritized improvement. The team's identified 5 things. We're going to work on these 2 things for the next sprint, the next iteration, and then we're going to apply this measure to show that we've improved, and we're to again show ourselves and show leadership that this is working.
Let's summarize all these for our viewers, right? So as far as the pitfalls are concerned, right, if the teams don't do the retrospective, these are the pitfalls. I mentioned lack of engagement, right? Lack of progress or ambiguity or vagueness around the progress, missed opportunities, as in missed opportunities for those improvements. Right? We are not learning from it. We probably will end up making the same mistakes again and again and again. Right? The next one I have is low morale. Right? The team members will start disengaging. Morale is down. It builds up pressure. That's another thing we talked about. So eventually they will snap, right? So we definitely don't want that happening. All the learnings are lost. So if you don't do the retrospective, that is another pitfall or missed opportunity, as we talked about. And the biggest thing up for me is that you lose that innovation. Right? So these are some of the pitfalls that I see happening if the team stops doing the retrospective. And this is
Absolutely.
again, we are drawing that picture for them. Hey, if you don't do the retrospective, 2 months, 3 months from now, you can expect all these bad things happening to you as a group. So don't go there, right?
And Nimesh, I'm realizing again another thing, because we do have those retrospectives where it's it's like a thud, for whatever reason the stars are not aligned and the teams just isn't really engaged. So a good facilitator for those retrospectives is going to be creative in I can see there's games that can be played to get engagement, but also we could do as an experienced or value added facilitator, just go back over the Scrum at the Agile values and principles. Just review those. Go through the 4 and the 12 and say, how did we do in these areas? Do we feel like we're getting stronger as a team? Do we feel like we're engaging with our customer enough? All of those things. Just again to continue to repeat without being a broken record. What we've been empowered to do as a team.
Yeah, so you are one thing you mentioned that caught my attention is that the engagement during the retrospective is a big challenge, right? And that is a big challenge, especially when you are doing this remote in a virtual environment, right? So definitely there are a lot of challenges also for the team when they do the retrospective. And that, my friend, would be a topic for the next video.
Let's do that, Manish.
All right.
Awesome.
Thank you.